How's this? Can you see me? My wife has this thing about, she's like, I need to see more of you because it looks good with the microphone. Hey, what if I elevate the microphone? Because I need to get the microphone up where you can see me and see the microphone. Like I need some space. I need something to prop this up. What could I get? Oh look, she's got this thing she never uses anymore. Now that her job is different. Does that work? Is that okay? Can you see that? Alright, let's start this thing. You ready? I hadn't even started the podcast yet. This is just bonus stuff. This is why you watch the YouTube. Alright, ready? Here we go. Hello and thank you for stopping by the Stuff I Heard podcast. This is your host, Joshua Peak. Hey, hi, how's it going? Today is, see I like to start off the date right away. Today is December the 7th. December the 7th is very historic because this is the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed. It's not a celebration. It's a very sad time for a lot of people. A lot of families were greatly affected. Many people will know that the bombing of Pearl Harbor started World War II for America. That's really what got us involved. That's what got us off our butts and made us really go after the Japanese. And yeah, it started a Pacific campaign that engaged the Marine Corps. And I think really because of it, the Marine Corps is very relevant now. Everyone knows about their struggles with, you know, doing a campaign warfare of taking one island at a time, making their way closer and closer towards Japan so that they could have a closer outpost to attack. And ultimately they did attack, and you know, the damage that was done was devastating. And, you know, it's a very interesting story. It's a very interesting time in history that was not so long ago. I mean, it was a long time ago. We live in 2018 right now. You know, I don't want to diminish time as far as its relevance to us, but you know, it was a long time ago. What was that? 74 years ago? Is that right? 74 years? Yeah. 84 years? 74 years. Somebody do the math. Right now people are doing the math in their head and they're like, yeah. Okay, good for you. But yeah. That was only a people ago. You know, Rogan talks about that in his special. If anybody's ever watched Rogan's newest special, Strange Times, he talks about how, you know, we founded this country just a few people ago. If people live to be 70, 80 years old, it's just a few people ago. But yeah, so Pearl Harbor today. God rest all you people who fought and died, and all the families who were affected. Our family was affected in a weird way. Our family was directly affected. A lot of it has to do with my granddaddy Peak, Charles Oliver Peak. Charles Oliver had joined the Army. He was a young man, a peanut farmer. His daddy was a sharecropper, which means, I guess, as far as I understand, it means you never actually own your land. You just work the land forever for somebody else. I don't know if that's the exact situation, but that's what I've heard. This is the Stuff You Heard podcast, right? So from here on out, you heard it from me. He was a peanut farmer and was sitting there on the field one day. I don't know if they just farmed peanuts. I'm sure they farmed other things. But they were farming, and he heard about this thing called communism and how these people were really hurting other people. And he said, you know what, that ain't right. I'm gonna do what's right. I'm gonna stand up for what's right. I'm gonna join the Army, and I'm gonna serve my country. And he joined the Army, and he served his country. Now, he joined and became a cook, but when the time came and they needed volunteers, they were looking for volunteers to basically commit a suicide mission. They were planning to attack Japan at one of the strongest holds that they had on a beach to draw all of the fire and all of the attention towards them, and meanwhile other forces were going to come around from the flanks and attack them along the flanks. And my granddaddy volunteered. He said, I'll do it. I'll do it. Now think about that for a second. Think about the fact that you don't know these people. You don't know who they are. All you know is that you think you're doing the right thing. And for whatever reason, God put you in this place. And he was a firm believer in God. He believed without a shadow of a doubt that everything happened for a reason, and we were all here for a purpose. And he knew at that moment that his purpose was this. Okay, you need somebody to volunteer? I'll do it. Let's go. And, you know, from what I understand, they were on ships headed to shore when I guess the decision was made for them to drop the bomb on Hiroshima. And they stopped the boats and they told them, hey, listen, we're not going to invade right now. We're going to drop this bomb, and it's going to be devastating. And whatever you do, don't look at it. We're going to need you all to get down and turn away, and so on and etc. And they dropped a bomb on Hiroshima. And of course, Granddaddy said, of course we all looked. You couldn't not look. It was the most powerful thing we'd ever seen, ever. And he said that they were one of the first ships ashore. And he remembers going ashore and seeing the devastation, and everybody was shocked. Some people cheered, some people cried. He said that he remembered hearing people say that seeing that level of devastation convinced them that there was no God. And he said, I saw it and I realized only God could create something this powerful. It reaffirmed his belief and reestablished him in faith in a different way. And I don't know, maybe it made him a different level of caring towards people. I mean, I always tell people that growing up, he was my measuring stone of what it was like to be a polite man, to be kind to people. He was a very kind person. You know, Dad was on the podcast in October. You can go back and listen to it or watch the YouTube videos or whatever. And Dad talks about, you know, being a kid and going to see a wrestling match, and, you know, they have the good guys and the bad guys, and the bad guy apparently had something in his hand and was going to, you know, he kept rubbing it on people's faces and cutting their faces with it. And he said, and my dad, all, you know, 5'4" of them or whatever, runs up there, jumps up on the ring and grabs the thing out of the guy's hand and runs away. And the guy's, you know, the wrestler, he didn't know what to do because this is part of the show, you know. And he was just like, did he just really take that out of my hand? Granddaddy Peak was not a great big man, but he believed in doing what was right and standing for what was right. And he never really talked about that kind of stuff to me. He never really mentioned it to me growing up. He just set the example every day of being a kind person and helping other people. You know, anytime I was with him and anybody drove up to see him or stopped to talk to him, he would greet him with, "Hello, neighbor." And I really, I never even asked him about this, but I really believe that his "hello, neighbor" was attached to his belief, you know, love thy neighbor as thyself. And I really believe that everybody he came into contact with, he loved them as though they were Jesus, or as though they were him, or, you know, as Jesus was taught him to be. And, you know, that example from him made an impact in my life. I never got to tell him that. I never got to express that to him. But I think he knows. I hope he knows. But all I can do is I can be that example now. I can try and be that level of man as an example to the people around me, to my family, to my kids. So, Pearl Harbor Day. Let's switch gears a little bit. Enough of this sadness. I've been sticking with this diet thing, and I've been losing weight, and I went out and I bought some new clothes, and I'm amazed that they fit, and I'm super happy about that. You know, we're having a Christmas party tonight at work. We've actually rented out one of the local bowling alleys. I say we, our company, rented out one of the local bowling alleys for the evening. And it's all us for like 3.5 hours or so, and there's going to be catered food, and there's going to be bowling on every lane, and there's going to have stuff for kids, and they have you know, giveaways and a drawing, you know, stuff like TVs and grills and, you know, Yeti coolers and laptops and all kinds of good stuff, man. I tell you what, it's nice to work for a company that appreciates you, and you know, it's just that extra level of, you know, caring about people. They didn't have to do this. They didn't have to do any of this. There were times in the past where I remember them talking about wanting to do something and they couldn't because financially they just couldn't afford it. And I remember them talking about, you know, Christmas bonuses one year and saying, you know, we just can't do it. And then all of a sudden somebody appears and they go, I mean, we can do something. And they hand us some cash. And they're like, here, this is all we can do. You know, the economy took a hard turn in 2008? The economy took a hard turn then, and it was rough for a lot of people. And we were lucky that we were able to survive it without suffering too badly. I mean, we've been blessed with good jobs, and we work hard at our jobs, and we were fine. I never expect anything. I never expect a bonus. I never expect a Christmas party, because I like to be surprised when they show up and go, wow, thank you. That's awesome. Because you have a choice. I mean, in life, you have a choice of what you can do for people and what you know, the way you react when things happen. And these things happen, and I feel grateful. I feel like, you know, why would you be sad over something that you weren't counting on before? You know, I get it if you work for a company that every year they do something and then one year they don't. You're like, hey, wait, what about so-and-so? I mean, I'll be honest, I was a little bit that way this year when we had turkey time. Usually the first part of November, our company gives out turkeys to all the employees. Hey, here's a free turkey. Now, do we need a free turkey? I mean, they pay us good money. We can go out and buy us a turkey. That's not a problem. But it's a gesture. It's just a, here, happy Thanksgiving, have a turkey. Cool. They didn't have to do that. But they do it for all the employees. And that's awesome. I mean, that's really awesome. This year we got a little busy and we got kind of, you know, behind the gun a little bit, and we didn't get turkeys until it was almost Thanksgiving. Normally we get it, like I said, the 1st of November. This time it was more closer to Thanksgiving. But I was a little nervous about this thing that I kind of take for granted of a turkey. Now, I could have gone to the store and bought a turkey for probably, you know, $15-20. Wouldn't have been no big deal. But they give us a turkey for Thanksgiving, and for that I'm thankful. I'm thankful. It's Thanksgiving, right? You're supposed to be thankful for things. Or that was Thanksgiving. We're approaching Christmas time. Like I said, this is December 7th. In the past, Christmas shopping has been mainly rushing to stores and trying to fight off people and trying to find what everybody wants and that kind of stuff. And this year was more of, hey, what can I find on Amazon? Because I can have it shipped here and I don't have to fight any crowds and I can sit in my underwear and shop. Or in our case, we were driving down the road shopping. Technology is getting pretty cool. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about, you guessed it, Joe Rogan. Listen to Joe Rogan's podcast. Let me find it. With Dr. Ben Goertzel, Goertzel. It's episode 1211. It was recorded this past Tuesday. Let me see if I can look at it without making it play. It says Dr. Ben Goertzel is the founder and CEO of SingularityNet, a blockchain-based AI marketplace. AI, artificial intelligence. Now, this guy is interesting, okay? He's like super genius level, and listening to him talk about the probability of AI and how we're using AI currently, part of it has to do with shopping. He says, you know, you're going to go with whatever makes you money right away. And shopping is a big part of it. He said it first got used by the military. It was first created for the military. The military threw a bunch of money from the military intelligence. Just here, we want you to develop this to help us better predict when things are going to happen and how to stop it and which people are going to be the most dangerous and how to stop them and that kind of stuff. But then it turned to shopping. That's why sometimes if you notice, if you have a conversation about something, your phone can be sitting there off, or not off, but the screen's off, and you're just saying, "Oh, I need to buy some coffee," and you pick up your phone and you look on Facebook, and on the corner it says, "By the way, if you're looking for coffee, here's a purchase idea," and you're like, "Whoa, how did that happen?" Or if you're talking about "Oh, we need to go get dinner. Hey, what about Jim's Chicken Shack?" and you open up Google Maps and you hit the J, and all of a sudden Jim's Chicken Shack shows up, and you're like, "Whoa, I didn't even press the rest of it. How did it know?" That's kind of the AI stuff that this guy talks about. Is this is where it's starting. It's an interesting podcast. I recommend checking it out. For my guys that drive over the road that I work with, it's a long podcast. Joe does long podcasts. This is 2 hours and 29 minutes. Now, I'll tell you that probably the first 6 minutes or so is just Joe reading advertising. And you can skip past all of that. Just hit that little circle button that says fast forward 15 seconds or 30 seconds and just keep blip, 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 blip. And then when you start hearing other people's voices, stop it, rewind it a little bit, and then go from there. So yeah, check that out. Very cool. I am listening to it currently. I got about an hour left in it. I'm looking at his list of people that he's interviewed, and right away there's a couple of them I want to listen to. One of them is episode 1209, Anthony Cumia. Anthony used to be the A of the O&A show. Anthony and Opie and Anthony. They were a radio show. They were highly syndicated. They were sort of shock jocks that filled a void when Howard Stern went to Sirius Radio. But even they had the show before then too. And it's a fun show to listen to, although I never really listened to it. I have listened to highlights from it. I've gone on the internet and looked them up. I want to listen to that one, but I don't know if I'll have time. He has the very next episode is Tom Papa. He's a comedian, writer, actor, television, radio host. He has his own podcast. I've listened to Tom Papa episodes before. They're always good. Fast forwarding here. One he just recorded on Wednesday. I definitely am going to listen to this. It's 2 hours and 27 minutes long. Episode 1212. David Goggins. If you don't know who David Goggins is, do yourself do yourself a favor and check out David Goggins online. Okay? David Goggins, I'm just going to read this right here. David Goggins is a retired Navy SEAL and former U.S. Air Force Tactical Air Control Party member who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. He is an ultra-marathon runner, ultra-distance cyclist, triathlete, and world record holder for most pull-ups done in 24 hours. Wow. His book, he has a new book out called Can't Hurt Me. And then it's got the link on the iTunes page about how to download it. Now, I don't have time to read. I really don't. But if I were going to read a book, I want to read this guy's book. But what's better is if he offers a audio book, I want to hear this guy read the book, because this guy is motivating. This guy motivates people. His Instagram page is just him working out nonstop and telling you how to get motivated and how to kick ass and how to do things, and it's amazing. Let's see if I can find it so I can tell you the page. PID. Yep, it's under David Goggins on Instagram. This guy is a beast. I mean, a beast. He's got a lot of videos. He's got some photos of him back before he joined, when he was overweight. And let's see, can I get a photo of him now? I can't see a photo because every video is him running, and he's in incredible shape. But he does these videos where he's running and telling you stuff. I don't know who runs beside him or who drives beside him and records him while he talks, but the dude is motivation. He is motivation. Right now he's got 740,000 followers on Instagram, and he doesn't follow anybody. You know why? Because he doesn't have time. I bet you he doesn't even do this thing. I bet somebody does it for him. Probably a girlfriend or a publicist or a buddy. David Goggins. You gotta check it out. You're gonna be like, holy shit. This is what I need in my life. I need this kind of motivation. He is that kind of motivation. I listened to his first podcast that he did with Joe Rogan, and he talked about how he was out of shape and how he wanted to get in shape, and he just kept looking at himself thinking, I can't, I'm a quit. And he said, I quit a lot. I quit and quit and quit and quit until one day I was sick and tired of quitting. And I decided, you know what? I'm done quitting. I'm never going to quit again. And every single trial and tribulation that he had after that, including Navy SEALs, including running ultra marathons, he just wouldn't let himself quit. That's what you call mind over matter, buddy. I dig it. Today, I had the opportunity to catch up on Bert's podcast. Let's see. Why can't I see all of my podcasts in my library? See, this is where iTunes really sucks. When you have a bunch of podcasts that you have stored in your library, you can't see all of them unless you tap shows. I had the opportunity recently to record some commercials for Anchor. I got notified that, hey, Anchor wants you to record a commercial for them. Here's the thing you read, and go ahead and say it, and I did it. And then I got one for something called Pocket Casts. I don't know what Pocket Cast is, but I did a commercial for them, and thank you for the money, by the way. But maybe I need to check it out. Maybe I need to download it on my phone, because iTunes is a pain in the neck sometimes. It acts up all the time. I can't find what I'm looking for. It makes me crazy. Anyway, I had the opportunity today to listen to the Bertcast, episode 318. Anthony Cumia. He's the guy I told you was on the O&A show. This is a great interview, hanging out with Bert. It's 2 hours and 54 minutes. Apparently they did Anthony's show. Anthony has his own podcast, and they decided to do one at Bert's place. It's great. It's great. Even the beginning part where Bert reads the ads with his wife LeeAnn, it's funny. I mean, they make it fun to listen to. And then I listened to, right after that, he did one on Thursday called Open Tabs. And I talked in the past about Paul Baldwin on Instagram, the State King, a.k.a. the State King. And they had a bet going that they couldn't. Paul said, there's no way I can get to 5,000 followers on Instagram. And Bert's like, oh yeah, you can. I'll make it happen. And he's like, I'll tell you what. He said, I guarantee you'll get to. He said they had some kind of bet where if Paul got to 5,000 followers on Instagram, Bert would do Open Tabs with his pants off. Now, this is an audio podcast, but Halston's in the studio with him as a sound engineer, and apparently he had his pants off. Now, there is a YouTube page. I don't want to watch the YouTube part of his pants off. Even LeeAnn talks about it. She goes, nobody wants to see that. And he goes, hey, I'm your husband. She goes, come on, let's be honest. Nobody wants to see that. Which is funny. But yeah, so he did the podcast with his pants off, apparently. I didn't go to the YouTube page to verify this. I'm assuming that's the case. But good for you, Bert, for honoring your strange bet. Let's see if I can find Paul, the State King. Boom. Paul Baldwin now has 5,341 followers. It's pretty good. Good stuff, man. Good for Bert. Good for Paul. Sorry, Halston. Sorry you had to see that disturbing thing. But Bert was like, you can't see anything. I'm down here underneath the table, and the computer's in the way. It's no big deal. So, hey, it's all in fun, right? And Bert has no problem being naked. I mean, if anybody doesn't know who Bert is, just on YouTube, just type in shirtless comedian, and he's going to come up. You're welcome. Now, I talked about this in the past about having tickets for his show coming up, and I was kind of looking to see if any of my friends wanted to go, and I recorded that episode Tuesday, and today's Friday. I haven't heard anything yet. I talked to Byron this morning, and he was like, hey, I heard your thing. So, but it's out there, I got a friend that I'm going to ask if I don't hear anything by next Tuesday, and I'm pretty sure he'll want to go, but he may have to move around some things. So, we'll see what happens. But I talked a little bit about listening to LeeAnn Kreischer's podcast, Wife of the Party. and how they had the Fathers Part 2 with Sam and Lance talking about his drug addiction, his, what it did to their family, how they dealt with it over the years, and how he got sober for his family. And I felt compelled to write LeeAnn and talk about some similar things that are going on in our life with one of our kids. And I wrote her a very long email on her she has a web page, wifeotp.com, and I wrote her a lengthy email just telling her how much I appreciated her talking about the Anchor app, and I downloaded it and I'm recording stuff, and I'm on to episode 60 now. This is number 60, and I've recorded a few commercials now, and it all started just because I was listening to Bert, and then one day she joined in and she started talking about, hey, if you want to start a podcast, people ask me all the time. I tell them this is how you can do it. And it motivated me and it got me going. Anyway, I wrote this lengthy thing to her and told her about what we're going through and how I really appreciated Sam and Lance coming on the podcast and talking about their experience. And I asked her if there was any way that maybe somebody from Al-Anon could come on her podcast and discuss, what it's like being in a relationship with someone who's going through this. And, I just sent it out there. I didn't know if I'd ever hear back, or, I had heard her say on a podcast before that she likes writing people back and she reads everyone. And she wrote me back a very wonderful, long email, thanking me for, tuning in and checking it out, and, her heart felt for what we're going through. And, it was the response that I was surprised to get, but also not surprised to get, because listening to her interact with Bert, you get the impression that she's a very kind-hearted person who's been through a lot, and she understands what it means to do the extra thing, whatever the extra thing is. She talks about the fact that to a fault sometimes she does more for other people than she does for herself. And I can see why Bert loves that. I can see why Bert loves that in her, and how that dynamic works for the two of them. Because, Bert, listening to them, my wife has pointed out that he's kind of a train wreck. I mean, he's sort of a mess. He doesn't help her out as much as he should. And, he's chaos. He's chaos in a body form. And part of that chaos, though, is what helps them pay the bills, and what sort of attracted her to him in the first place. Bert's a good time. When I listen to Bert on podcasts, I have a good time. I love to laugh, and I love hearing people laugh, and his laughter is infectious. I mean, there's something about hearing the kind of joy that makes you cry and lose your breath, and, as he says, almost pass out. It's infectious. And I'm a huge fan. And I'm a huge fan of Bert. If any of you don't know that. So, thank you, LeeAnn, for writing me. I appreciate it. Let me reset this camera. Hang on. But yeah. So, thank you, LeeAnn, for writing me. I appreciate it. I know that you're busy and you're raising kids and all this other stuff. And I really, honestly, I didn't expect a message back. I just wanted to tell you thank you for some of the subject matter that you're going through on your podcast. What I didn't get a chance to write about was your episode on menopause and how it informed me of a lot of what my wife is going through and what I'm experiencing through her. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth. I like to promote the positive, you know what I mean? Speaking of promoting the positive, let's talk about one of my favorite places to eat. They're not a sponsor, but I like to pretend that they're an unofficial sponsor. Here in Florence, we have King Jefe Tacos, and my mom and I have this tradition of, if I'm off and she's off and we don't have any plans, we meet for lunch and we have tacos. Or more specifically, we have the the Cali bowl without the rice and beans and with extra guacamole, because we're both ketoing. My mom, by the way, has lost a ton of weight. She looks great. I went by there Wednesday, walked in the front door, and the owner of the place was standing there, and he recognized me. Now, this is not just a casual recognition. I've worn the King Hefe shirts while going to Disney twice, and posted stuff on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, even on YouTube, about, hey, I'm at the happiest place on earth wearing my favorite restaurant shirt, just because I like to show off this cool shirt. It's a neat looking shirt. It's got like an artistic, face on the back, and it's neat. Walked in the door of King Hefe, and he saw me, and he goes, hey, buddy, I appreciate the post from Disney again. I didn't even say hey or how you doing or nothing before he recognized me. He recognized me when I walked in the door. That's pretty cool. We live in a small town, but it's not that small. I mean, it's not Los Angeles, but it's not Mayberry either. I mean, it's a pretty busy town. I think during the last census, it was like 2016 or 13 or something like that. We were near 40,000 people, but I think now we're closer to 60,000 people or more. Our little town is booming. And it's kind of neat to be recognized. And lunch didn't disappoint. I had 2 of their tacos with lettuce bib wrap things. Shells. Not shells, but with lettuce as a wrap. And it was delicious. My mom had the Cali bowl, like I said, with no rice, no beans, and extra guacamole. Great lunch. Super lunch. Loved it. Everything tastes great. Everything looked beautiful. It's a neat place to hang out. They always got some cool music going on. That day when I walked in, they had a guy playing a Nintendo machine that they had bought a wireless Nintendo, and they were like asking people if they wanted to play in the restaurant. Hey, you want to play? People just randomly with wireless controllers playing in the restaurant. It was neat. You had to be there. Yeah. So I appreciate the positive things that people are doing, and I appreciate the effort that people are doing. And that's with anything in life. It could be with your job. It could be with your interactions with each other. Do the extra thing. Whatever it is, do it. Whether it's calling a person back, whether it's writing them a note saying thank you, whatever it is, do the extra thing. That's all I got. That's all I'm going to send you with today. Okay? I'm going to wrap this up. Thank all of you for listening. Thank all of you for subscribing. And please, if you haven't, subscribe, rate, review, share with your friends. Tell them all, hey, there's this guy I know, and well, I don't really know him, but I listen to him, and I feel like I know him. That's the point. We're building community here. One small step at a time. Like Casey Neistat says, action over intent. You can intend to do anything, but until you take action of it, what does it matter? So, grab life by the horns and make tacos. All right, that's it. Bye now. Y'all take care.